Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect and Quiver and my patrons at patreon.com/ShivamB. Yes, thank you, Wheeler. I am now afflicted with that virus of not being able to just say .com like a normal human. Today, I'm very excited to have JanePlaysMagic, a streamer who runs queerish Commander games and plays on the YouTubes and whatnot. To come here and talk to me about a topic near and dear to my heart, which is the fact that Magic is just not gay enough. which is kind of weird to say because all the people I hang out with in Magic are gay. So it's just kind of I don't know, maybe I'm the problem here. But no, this is very but there was a while there where I put out an ask for pitches because after doing 280x episodes of this show, it turns out I don't know 280x people that I can talk to. So it's important once in a while to just shake the tree and see who wants to come and chat with me. And her pitch intrigued me. And so I was like, oh yeah, let's have a discussion. And people I know and respect also vouch for you. So I was like, good enough for me. Let's go. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah. I'm honored and excited.
So for the people, why don't you tell them who you are so that you can do a better job than I did?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jane Judge. My show is called JanePlaysMagic. We're on YouTube and we make actual play, kind of multicam, real in-person games, as well as spell-tilted games every week. So you can find me on Twitch live streaming some weird secret partners or some other kind of mini game for EDH.
I do love secret partners. I think I remember when I was first introduced to that idea, it was like, oh, so we're playing Bang, but with Commander.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hella fun until you're getting shot by your partner and they're like
it really adds that additional level of social politics, which is the thing about EDH that I'm really passionate about and really interested in. So that's what I'm always trying to do, is find some new way to make everyone play a social politics game instead of Magic.
I 100% stand behind that. I honestly think Commander is a board game. It is more, Commander is, if Magic normally is like a fighting game tournament where we're going there, we're fighting, we're trying to climb to the top. Commander night is more like board game night. You're bringing people to hang out with, and your goal is for all of you to have a good time, whatever that encompasses in your worldview.
Yeah.
But it's chill. It's if you tried to turn a board game night into a fighting game tournament, it's weird. I've seen competitive Catan. Don't do that. That's a bad idea.
I'm not into that. This is the kind of game where you're here with your friends at your kitchen table and you do something silly. I think I do love CEDH, right? It's fun. It's got its own kind of energy. But is that the table that I want to play at on a Friday night when I'm trying to relax with my friends? What I really love is it gets you just to hang out with your friends. It's an excuse to invite 3 people over and do this silly little thing together.
One of the terms that my partner Ben Wheeler uses is that sometimes you have decks for chilling and hanging with your friends, and sometimes you have end of the night gotta catch the bus decks where it's I'm gonna put out a Sulfuric Vortex turn 1, and then we're gonna go Descent into Avernus, and then we're gonna pull out the CDH decks and just kind of go to face punchy town. And I think there's a time and a place for face punchy town. I just don't want that to be the only meal that we're having.
Exactly.
If I mix my metaphors anymore, God damn, dude. I try very hard to be on my game for these shows, and I try to bring my best, and sometimes the egg's a little scrambled.
That's why people love you. It's authentic.
You know what? I will believe you. Okay, so but real talk though. one of the things that is really important to me is inclusivity in at the tables, at the stores, at the conventions, because obviously we want to make sure, and like that was one of the things I spearheaded when I was part of the CAG, is trying to make sure that everybody's sitting at the table they should be sitting at, and that everybody's welcome at whatever table they want to be at. And also, if we are being genuinely honest, since say lockdown or maybe Eldraine right before lockdown, there has been both a huge influx of people who play CDH or are like more competitive minded in Commander or just like brand new to Commander, but also an insanely huge jump in the amount of queer and trans folks who have come into Magic. And we've noticed
I'm one of those people. I came here in Lord of the Rings, you know, that was my first set. So I don't
That's
have a lot of
wild, really?
experience with like, yeah. I really got addicted. You get the bug fast.
You know, we'll talk about that in just a second, because that's, I'm always intrigued when people are like, "Yeah, I got here," and like I was talking to Callie, and she was like, "Yeah, I joined with Phyrexia All Will Be One." I'm like, "Phyrexia All Will Be One? Of all the sets in the history of mankind, that's the set you decided was the one that, like, you know, this game looks sick. I should join." What the hell are you talking about?
I have no disparagement for the Lord of the Rings set. It was amazing.
I mean, you know what? It was a great limited format, and it was really fun. And they turned me into a card, so I have nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you've seen the East Farthing Farmer. Everybody, like, Wizard officially denies it looks like me. My wife is like, "There's no way that doesn't
No.
look like you." I'm sorry.
I remember, I think you were on the Professor Show or something like that. That was the first time I saw you, and you introduced yourself as the East Farthing Farmer. So I didn't know your name for a while. That's just what I had you in my head as.
Yeah, that was the second time I showed up on that one. Shuffle Up and Play was originally going to be the name of this show, but then I gave it to him to use because it worked better for his.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, me and him go back a long way, like 15 years or something. Anyways, but more to the point, there's like it heartens me greatly that Magic is, and I know, like, for instance, when we were working on the CAG and stuff and the rules committee, Sheldon especially was like incredibly grateful and glad that the format he had shepherded had become so known for being welcoming and friendly that it became a haven for queer folks to come and like just hang out, play
Yeah.
Magic, and be able to be themselves. And that's something that's really important to me.
It really,
So
Commander does have a different feeling than competitive Magic. I don't think I would have gotten into competitive Magic because I come from a role-playing background, right? I like D&D, I like RPGs, I like, those kind of games that's still collaborative and community and getting together with your friends, but it's a lot more commitment, right? And so that's why I think my local groups of friends and stuff really hung on to Magic too, is that you could just kind of come to one and miss the next one and come to the next one, and that's totally fine. It's like a little bit more low pressure, just way to get together.
it's funny because, like, you know, I'm going to tell the story with the full knowledge of the fact that the last episode I put up, there was a commenter who was like, you know, for a show about interviewing, you talk a lot about yourself. That being said, now I'm all self-conscious. That being said, the reason I joined Magic in the first place, or not in the first place, in the third return, in the real return I made, was because I was a lifelong D&D player, and
Wow.
then my setting got canceled by Wizard Dragonlance, and then also I had a kid, and I was like, you know what? I can carry a Magic deck in my pocket and play a game in like half an hour to 2 hours. Whereas a D&D game is like a week-long commitment of me researching, planning, building out campaigns, doing all this, and then
Yeah.
herding a flock of adult cats to try to show up and actually do anything. And
Scheduling, the real final boss.
yeah, just like, are you kidding me? For real? Like, D&D is a game for young people with time.
Yeah.
I was talking to
That's
a
very
friend about
true,
that.
honestly. Like, I'm getting older now. I turned 30 last year, and many of my friends have children or other responsibilities, and that's just not really where I'm at, right?
God
I
damn
make a
it.
lot of space in my life for play because I think play is really important, and it's the thing that gives me, energy to do things. I'm doing a D&D campaign set in New Phyrexia on Mirrodin.
Mm,
I'm doing all of these things, the creating, the playing, the energy. That's what gets me excited to do stuff.
yeah.
But my friends don't really have the time to dedicate to that anymore. And so Magic is a really great compromise on that too. as we become adults and have to do
Yeah.
things.
And the trick with Commander is that it lets you tell stories and role play through your deck anyways. So
Yes.
I am surprised, and you know what? Maybe somebody has, but I haven't thought about it until this moment. I'm surprised nobody has tried to like run a campaign through Commander decks. Like,
I
I'll
think
bet
there
you
are a
could
lot
do
of
that.
people doing sort of similar things to this, and I
Like,
really like them.
I
Actually, my DM for this Phyrexia thing, his name is MTG Critical, and he does a series where they get really into a magic story, and everyone builds a commander deck about that story. And then
I love
throughout the
that.
month, they play games and talk about it. And again, that's just sort of like a thing in the queer space. People are much more invested in the story and that kind of energy that is being brought.
Yes, that is definitely true. Especially as the story gets queer itself.
Yeah.
Um, like I remember the giant flood of emotions when we got the Alesha story written by James Wyatt, or when Alison Lurs wrote her amazing arc from Ixalan, from like Origins through Ixalan or whatever with Jace and all that. Um,
I
so
watched Magic make its two first non-binary characters. I love Sammy in the Edge of Eternities. Like what? They're such an incredible character. I love it so much, and
uh,
people really are moved and touched by that representation.
yeah, and I think Sammy's a much better representation than the other one was, whose name I can't remember. I tried to put him in a deck once, but it it's because of the fact that this time around they're being front and centered, and they're
Yes.
actually being in the story as opposed to just like actually that's not the second, it's like the third, because there was this
Oh, really?
one non-binary elf legend in Dominaria that's like the kicker one. It's a red green
Ooh,
elf.
I have to go
And then
look
there
him
was a
up.
planeswalker, obviously, but like they were a non-binary character. But like just saying that in the little flavor bulb on like Wizards website doesn't actually carry any weight, or like it's. This is one of the things that I run into a challenge when I'm discussing with my friends about story or whatever. Is like, how do you depict, and like, for instance, a non-binary person or an asexual person in a story? What does that mean beyond just like, oh, yeah, we're just going to put vowels and then like feminize them or whatever it is? Uh, like the depiction of some of the Aetherborn is kind of, they're supposed to be all non-binary, but they don't come off very non-binary. They come off as very, I don't know.
It's hard for
Just,
someone who's deeply entrenched in the gender binary to write someone who doesn't fit that.
yeah.
I find this a lot with D&D and stuff like that. Like when people are writing a character, a lot of the times their first character is just themselves, right? And then they
Mhm.
want to do something a little different and they want to stretch their boundaries. Maybe they want to play somebody who's a gender swap to them. And like in doing that, in thinking the thoughts that you would experience as a woman, as this character, as a man, as this character, you really you learn a lot of empathy for the other
Mm.
gender's position. And I feel like this is important to do for non-binary characters too. Like maybe you don't fit comfortably into either one of those. Like what does that mean for you in this society? It takes a lot of getting into that person's shoes and sort of developing empathy for queer people. But I think that's
Yes.
so important. And I'm really glad that Wizards is finding that important too.
Yeah, I 100% agree because like, I mean, and it's not just like gender empathy or like, anything along those lines. It's also just like, I remember a long time ago, and because I've been a Wizards adjacent person for like 30 years or something. And there was a very, very long time ago where one of my friends who was a writer on Alternity, which was an old D&D setting they used to, or a system they used to have, which was like a future setting, like a modern type of world that they did in second edition. And in it, this writer was looking for NPC names, and they were grabbing like random people from Seattle or whatever, and like they had an Indian guy whose name was Sag Paneer, and I was like, bro,
Now that's a
bro,
food name. I know
you
that.
didn't. You tell me you didn't just name a character like a random NPC in a bot, and it's not even like a real character. It's just in the back. Here's other NPCs you can use, and I'm like, you named the dude spinach and cheese, bro. What do you want me to like? We really? It's like Street Fighter 2 calling the Indian guy Dawson because they like to eat dal at the restaurant, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
It doesn't feel good. When the representation is wrong, you can tell immediately. You can tell that nobody who really feels these perspectives wrote it, and
Mm.
it's really blatant.
Well, I mean, real talk. I had conversations with them after after the original Kaladesh and Aether Revolt came out, where I was like, hey, putting 7-Eleven jokes in the Indian theme setting is about as racist as you can do. And they're like, oh, we thought it was funny. It's like on The Simpsons. I'm like, no, bro, this is like the sort of thing that people who dunk me in trash cans say.
It's a slightly different context than The Simpsons too, which is like a comedy show.
Which is all, but it's also turbo racist at the time.
Oh yeah.
But that being notwithstanding, I was just like, so like the fact that I was able to get them to change the name of a setting whose title was initially very racist and is now much better, shows me that wizards can change. And the way that they're even treating their characters alone is just like, there's so much growth. And like you could see them taking tentative steps of like Chandra and Nalar being like, bisexual. Okay, great. And then Chandra being with Nissa. And then they're like, okay, well, we don't know how this will play in other markets. And then they're like, what if we didn't care?
What if we just what market is that not going to hit?
China.
That's true.
Yeah. They were mainly like, hey, we don't want our game to get censored out of the existence in like Russia and China. And it's like, guess what? We don't publish in Russia or China anymore. So knock yourselves out. I mean, that's not true. They do put in China, but like, you know what I'm saying though? It's kind of like, you can see, like, that's one of the things that, and I promise I'm not just going to monologue here, but this is one of the things that I really wish younger folks understood, is that Wizard, like, you see like a lot of complaints about like, oh, you guys aren't moving fast enough. And I'm like, yeah, but when I've been here for as long as I've been, and the amount of change that has happened in the last, let's say, 5 years versus the 15 or 30 years before that is insane. It is unbelievable how fast Wizards has changed. And like I am all for condemning people when they're doing wrong things. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fought for 10 years to get a plane's name changed. But like at the same time, when they're doing something good, you should try to encourage them to do more good things.
Yeah. And I do think I don't know if I would have come into Magic if I had happened upon it 15 years ago. I don't know if the energy or the art or the characters would really have pulled me in the same way. So I do think it really helped that it was an IP that I knew, Lord of the Rings, that I came in on.
Yeah.
So I already had relationships with these characters.
Can you kind of help me understand, like, why? So again, Lord of the Rings obviously is a global masterpiece. Everybody understands it. But what brought you into this? Because Lord of the Rings expressed itself in infinite ways.
It was sort of a beautiful thing where COVID happened and me and my partner were stuck. And we had to find something to do together. We were going a little insane, we can't get together and play D&D with our friends like usual. And they introduced me to playing just paper Magic. And we had a couple of the starter decks that we pitted against each other. And I like solving puzzles. So he got me like the Might versus Mind starter decks. And then I was sold.
Oh, yeah. And the dual decks.
Yeah, they were amazing. And then we turned up to the first just event that we were going to go to at a store. And it just so happened to be the pre-release for Lord of the Rings, which we didn't know was happening. And so I just got hit by this, like, I don't know, this magical train of Magic the Gathering where every piece of it was just perfectly designed to get me completely locked in. And I got obsessed.
What did you think about the fact that Wizards decided to think outside the box with the depictions of their characters?
I really liked it. I know there were a lot of things that people were upset about, like, I don't know, some of the characters were like race swapped or whatever, and like,
I thought it was amazing.
Very upset. I thought they were so beautiful. I love the art. I love the cards. I love the new interpretations and what the mechanics led to, right? Like, I really loved Gollum. That was my Gollum was the commander that I built out of Lord of the Rings. It was graveyard stuff. It was a silly little guy. And it was a commander who's so cheap, who you can cast over and over again. And it doesn't matter if he's removed.
How did you get into Commander then? Like...
So I didn't really love the LGS experience. That wasn't something we were going to go do every week. We brought some pre-cons and we tried to go to LGS nights and stuff like that. And we just got blown out of the water by people's, 8-power dinosaur decks every night and got exhausted. We didn't have a bracket system back then. It wasn't, it wasn't as easy to have that rule zero conversation with strangers, especially in a situation where those people are not having that rule zero conversation with each other. And we were just,
they sure aren't.
We're not on that power level, Our collection was small. We didn't understand how to build a deck yet, So I ended up just playing pretty much a bunch of our decks with our friends who would come over and just like, test our decks against each other. So we were all at kind of the same extremely shitty power level. Sorry, extremely crappy power level. And
see, I warn people in the beginning every time.
It's hard. It's hard.
I know.
But that kind of, I don't know, the table felt different when it was at my house or at my friend's house or something like that.
For sure.
Than the table that happens at the LGS. And I am, I'm a cis white woman. I have the privilege to move between a lot of different spaces. And I know which ones are fun for me and which ones are not.
Mm-hmm. So that leads us into our topic du jour, which is like, how do we, and like, there's been a lot of talk lately because like Wizards, the CEO of Hasbro was like, we need to bring more women into Magic. And so we're going to go and get K-pop stars and romantasy. And I'm like,
okay, listen, I love the romantasy set, and I would pay for that. I understand I'm being pandered to, but I do love it. I get it.
Look, we do love I get it. Things. Like, I know
it's okay for women to like typically feminine things.
Sure, that's entirely. It's okay for men to like those things too. It's fine. Like, I'm gonna say, if you want to go and have your Outlander deck, that is totally fine. I get it. Like, I mean, when I went to Scotland a few weeks ago, I went to the castle that Outlander was filmed in. I know, I get it.
Amazing.
Because it was also the castle that Monty Python and the Holy Grail was filmed in. So the audio guide was half that guy and half the Outlander guy talking about like being half naked in the snow. And I'm like, I know your audience here. That's fine. But that's the point, though, is like, it's not what's on the card, though. You did say like Lord of the Rings is what brought you in. That'll get you in the door.
Lord of the Rings isn't a typically feminine set, I would say. It doesn't have the love story, the romance bits, all of that.
It's got a love story. Are you kidding? It's got Arwen and they're even a legendary couple on top of that.
That's true. That's true. But like, I would say it's a more masculine-driven energy.
It's a very much a shonen show.
Women are already playing Magic the Gathering. We don't need a separate thing to be pandered to. You know what we need? We need bathrooms we can use at LGS.
Yes. God, dude.
We need to not have to wash our clothes separately when we come home because they smell like that LGS stank, It's a social problem. It's not a problem with the cards.
It's like we used to say about Commander is like, you don't have rules problems. You have conversation problems. Like, all of your problems in Commander can be solved by talking, which is not a thing Magic players are very good at. But it's also like my reaction to that post was like, look, dude, it's not what's on the card. That'll get them in the door, sure. But if you want them to stay, then you have to change the culture. You have to make it so that people are not rancid Neanderthals when they go and like meet a not white dude in the store. Like, you can sit down against an opponent and not be like, oh, so is this your first time, or is your boyfriend here? It's like, dude, really? No, just stop. Like, Dana Fisher, I've known her since she was 6 years old, and she is in like the top 15% of Magic players in the world.
Like, a powerhouse. We love her.
Yeah, we love Dana. She's insane, and she's like, incredibly good at the game. And if she sits down in front of you and you see this just like tiny little elfin looking, 4 foot tall redhead little girl sit down in front of you, and you're going to be like, oh, look at that. Isn't she sweet? And then you're picking your teeth up off the ground, right? Like,
I've gotten my ass kicked by 10-year-olds too, Yeah, you can't assume anything about the person across from you.
No, it's so how do we shift a culture to make it more welcoming? Because obviously the game is attracting women and NBs and trans folks and folks from every race and gender spectrum. Like, honestly, the bigger barricade is finance more than like who we are as people. But how do we keep them?
That's a really hard question, because the answer to it is we need to make spaces that are for women and queer people. And that's really, really offensive. Some LGSs do like a ladies' night and people complain about that already. But like one night a month maybe is like nothing. Seriously. We need a space where you can show up and you don't have to worry about what you are wearing. We need a space where you can show up and no one's going to make a comment about you trying to pick your cards up with nails on. And I don't know that exists publicly yet.
I think it is few and far between. And there are spaces like that, but it's like it has taken a lot of concerted effort in order to cultivate that sort of thing. Because like there was for a long time, there was the Lady Planeswalker Society, and there was
Mhm.
other groups that would go and make kind of more femme forward, like magic groups that would then go into LGSs around the world and build spaces for people to come and hang out and play.
Yeah.
But like,
I also want to shout out BOP and VML, who had a
yeah,
space at the very
well,
first Vegas MagicCon that I went to that changed my perspective on who played Magic. It was
we love us.
incredible. I met so many
We
people.
love BOP and we love the VML. I've long supported both of them and think they're both well. No, they're both deeply important to the community,
Yeah.
and it irks me. That's a different topic. Uh, like the
There are
VML
people
is
working to change this, is
it's
what I'm trying to
so
say.
important. God, dude, the VML is so important. BOP is so important. And before both of those was the Lady Planeswalker Society. And like a lot of new people just don't remember because they weren't there then. But they also did a huge job of making more inclusive spaces for non-males to be in Magic.
Yeah.
And like, because the problem is you run into the specter of capitalism, which is that stores are struggling and they don't want to turn guests away when they need to get money and sell cards, and that
Yeah.
means letting the Neanderthals in, or like just not being able to cultivate spaces that are more like welcoming because the incentive to want to pay your rent, and that sucks, and it's so annoying to me because I'm like, look, dude, we have people here who want to give you money
Yeah.
and give you lots of money and come and hang out and play and just be accepted. But it's like you
When the
can't.
girlies find a space that is comfortable and safe, they show up and they pay
Yeah,
for stuff.
they really do. They
Yeah.
really, really do. Like that's one of my biggest, like, for instance, arguments in favor of UB is like, I want more people to play against. Stores want more people to come in and buy more cards. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not the game we remember, but also the people I'm playing with in the game I remember are all 45 and up. I would like to see some 15-year-olds pick up the game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It needs that longevity because if
Yeah.
it stays the same forever, it won't attract new people. And you need new people in a game to have the company keep making it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
mean, that's the specter of capitalism in a different way, but
yeah,
that's real
right?
too.
Yeah, well, it's like, look, I've been playing Magic since 1994, right? So, like, I've seen a lot of shifts in this game going from, like, I'm the only brown guy in the room to I was at, like, a commander table where I went to a Magic Con where every pot I played was with, like, non-white folks, and that was just wild and, like, unbelievable to me. But it's also like, look, we can we've managed to break down some barriers. This is just the next one we need to work on making more welcoming. Like, we've made it more welcoming somewhat for, people of not white races to come play because Magic is an international game. That helps a lot. But
Yeah.
now, and I'm going to say this, one of the things that really irked me is both good for the game and bad for the game, which is that every time a woman or an NB pops up in, or a trans person gets really prominent and high in the community, Wizards has this tendency to come in, swoop them up, and hire them and put them in the building. And I'm like, great, that's great for the development of the game, getting them in the door, making the story better, making the game better. Terrible for the community because now all of our heroes are getting ascended and getting vaporized, and you're never seeing them again. And I'm like, ah, how do like we need to find a way, and the VML is doing this, finding a way to cultivate a new class of people who can rise and be leaders of a community
Yeah.
without getting vacuumed into. But then even then, the VML got Arya Karamchandani got swooped in to become part of a development team, and I'm like, look, she's an insanely good play designer, but we needed her on the outside, man.
I think Wizards is recognizing the dedication that it takes to fight against this.
Yeah,
It takes a special kind of person to stand up and be the trans person who is so visibly attacked for it.
yeah.
And somebody who has that kind of resilience and the capacity to organize in the face of that, incredible. That's so brave. And they should
It's
get
so
hired for
cool.
everything.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like, I don't know, I think we have a lot of room for growth, and I think, like, shows like yours do a long way in, like, in making it visible and stuff, and
Yes.
it's
It's such a radical act to be queer and be loud and be visible. And you will get hate. just a couple of weeks ago, we got posted on a terrible subreddit that I will not name with a hate post.
Oh,
And,
dude.
I'm going to drop in my links and advertisement. I accept.
That subreddit and I have a long and storied history together. Leave it at that.
No. You are attracting the right kind of attention when the people who you don't like are hating you.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm just like, hey, look, at least you're paying attention.
Yes.
God, if they didn't pay attention, I wouldn't get paid at all. But
the hate posts pay my
being,
bills.
can't eat hate. But the thing is, it's like there is a renaissance of like queer focused and queer like just streamers and video makers, content makers, podcasters, and it's huge. And like the CDH community is growing every day, and that is literally 3/4 trans. Let's be real. It
Magic
is
the Gathering is half trans.
it sure as hell is. And I mean, dude, it's not my place to tell people, but like, boy howdy, are there a lot of just let's just say the voices inside the building. Okay.
Do you know why that is? Here's my theory. I think that we don't allow a lot of spaces for adult play. And I think it's really, really important. And when you're questioning your gender identity, when you're experimenting with new things, that play space is a safe space to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's just in your commander deck, putting the lady at the top instead of a man, Just
I mean, how
it
many
out.
people,
See how your friends react.
Exactly. How many people do we know have like, female avatars in WoW, or are when they play D&D, they're always playing a lady character or whatever it is. Or like, if you're old like me, back in our mud days and our muck days and hanging out with the furries and all this, it's like
I was on RuneScape as a kid. That's my era.
Yeah, basically. It's like, look, dude, these are all different explorations of being able to find a way to represent yourself in a way that you can't do in the outer generic normie world, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, like, you're exactly right. Like D&D, for instance, was such a huge home for people to be able to explore queer ideas, trans ideas, like, it's funny, like orcs and half orcs and stuff suddenly became very, very popular, and tieflings and stuff became very popular as more and more people who were having like body dysmorphia or trying to find ways to deal with their like feelings of like being out of sync with themselves. And it's like, it was weird to me as a generic cis dude playing D&D. I'm like, why would you want to play the villains or bad guys? It's like, and then later on I'm like, oh, it's like you're exploring something and you're working it out in the game. And I'm like, you know what, my first character was a half elf who lived in and out of the elven world and the human world and didn't know where he belonged. So I fully understand exploring your identity.
The most recent character I've just based on a David Bowie musical. So,
we've been there too. I have definitely had a lot of Led Zeppelin cover art as my character,
It's such a beautiful space to try on something that you think will be fun. Anything.
What if I could be white? Wouldn't that be cool?
How would people react to you differently? You get to explore that in a place with your friends where they react to you differently. And that's so powerful.
And the fact that we're taking away, like, society is moving in a direction that is taking away spaces to hang out for not just queer people, not just like, multiracial people, but also just like kids. Like kids don't have a place to chill, hang out anymore. So things like having Magic Night, having Board Game Night, having Commander Night is one of the last remaining spots you can just go and hang out with people. And like, we are celebrating that. Obviously, that's what we do here. But bringing more people in and encouraging them to like, be able to say like, look, this is a safe place to explore yourself and to just express yourself and be whoever you want to be. Is important. And like, every time I go to like Magic Cons and I meet like, and I'm having like a signing or whatever, and there'll always be some number of trans folks who are in there who are like, hey man, you know what? Thank you for like trying to do something. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just cis guy standing here saying, hey, you exist.
Do you know how important that is though?
Yeah,
like,
but
that is
we should
so
be
validating. It's so
but the
valuable.
bare minimum is not good enough. It's not.
It isn't, but we see you doing it, and boy, is that cool.
You know what? Like, sometimes it's fun to tweak people in some Reddits, let's say. I don't know. I just like
rage bait.
I just want people to be happy and enjoy their lives and live peacefully, whoever they want to be, however they want to be, with their friends, and jam cards with me. And
I want people to live how they want to so they can play more Commander with me. That's
right,
the goal.
exactly. Like, look, dude, real talk, I'm getting older. It's harder to find groups these days.
Yeah.
But so how would you think, like, what sort of concrete steps do you think people could take in order to build a more welcoming space? And
It's
I realize
really
that is like the question.
Yeah, this is a really hard one. I can tell you what I do to test out spaces to see if I think they are going to be queer and accepting.
Oh, that's a great actually idea.
Yeah, because that's my experience a lot of the time, is seeing what energy I can bring to a place, right? Like I'm very comfortable here because I know you're queer accepting, Shivam, and I know you have like a certain energy that you bring to the space that is not going to make me immediately feel creeped on or something like that, you know?
Thank you.
But not all spaces have that. Especially just like playing with randos online, like you do as a content creator. You jump into people's spell table, they're all friends, you don't know them. What I do is, it's in the rule zero conversation. I love to put an illegal thing in my decks and see how people react to it. Because people who are really rigid about the rules and who are not going to be cool in a casual game, you know, I'm not talking about CEDH. I'm not trying to break the rules in CEDH.
I am.
But like, yeah.
But if we're playing don't let me interrupt you.
If we're playing 2-power and I want to put an unknown card or an illegal card into my deck, or somebody wants to rule 0 a Birds of Paradise or whatever the unknown card for that is into their command zone, the groups that are not comfortable with that think that is a rules violation that offends them, are also not as comfortable, in my experience, with like social violations that they perceive from trans people, queer people, people who don't conform to their perspectives, right? I know it's not a perfect indicator, right? And some tables are just really about the rules. And
well, yeah, because like I mean that is a good general, I guess, like barometer in order to kind of feel it out. But I do know I know some pretty queer folk who are definitely like would side eye you very heavily if you were like, hey,
I totally understand that.
You know, gold border cards or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I know. It's like even queers have uptights. Let's be real. But
I'm bringing a very silly gay energy to any table that I come to. It is going to be stupid. I'm going to make a joke. You know, we've got a pun built into the deck. I also don't like playing infinite combos. You know, that's just the energy that I'm bringing. And there are queer tables that bring infinite combos and that are not cool with unknown cards. You know.
I love infinite combos, but after like turn 12, by then we're like, you know what? You've done the thing. Now let me just pop.
A 2-card Thoracle feels very different than this 5-card complicated system.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that is not the same as like I need 4 cards and all of them are like will blow away with the wind, right? Like, you know, God, dude, Thoracle combo.
My CEDH deck has the Thoracle combo in it. That's why I can talk shit.
God damn it. But it's like the thing is like I had a thought for a second. Because I like that as a tester, at least to feel out how chill this group is going to be, right? And one of the things I also notice is like there are people who will slip periodically, or like, you know, like you, because one of the things I wish to impress upon folks is that you can tell the difference between somebody who is maliciously trying to misgender or mislabel something and somebody who is genuinely just whoopsie doodling, right? Like, and like, because I make those kind of mistakes all the time, especially with friends I know who I knew in one capacity before and are now in a different capacity. Sometimes,
I mean, we're human. We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's like, how do you react to that mistake? How quickly do you respond? And how quickly do you just like go like, hey, yo, whoops, and then just move on and like, you know, fix it the next time, right? Like, that is okay within reason. Like, if you keep doing it, that's like a little questionable, but like a lot questionable. But like, you know, but like,
a one-off mistake is okay.
Yeah, you know, like if you're gonna just flub, that's fine. Like, we just gotta realize like because you can hear the tone, you can tell the difference between like when somebody says sir, and like you're like, oh okay, whereas you're like, oh Joanne here, it's like, that's just like, hey, you know what, we bobble sometimes, it's fine.
You put people in a little box in your head and the box label changes, boy, it's hard. You see the
it's
scribbled
like
out one sometimes.
that is, I mean, real talk, that's one of the biggest problems that humanity is having with, that's why people are fixating on pronouns even though they're so immaterial to the grand scheme of things, is because they're like, I don't know how to make myself think in a different way, and it's hard. Rewiring your brain's hard. Like, real talk, it's very hard, and there's a reason why some words have transmitted from Old English or from Proto-Indo-European even to now as unchanging vocabulary words, because they're core to human experience. And when people start changing them, you're like, I am seg faulting, and I don't know what to do.
I think here's a good suggestion for making your tables more friendly to queer people, especially queer people who are using, neopronouns or pronouns that are different. Do you have any friends who use those pronouns?
I was like, do you have any friends? I don't have any friends.
Do you have any friends? Are any of them queer? Are you comfortable interacting with a queer person in a way that's not going to make them uncomfortable? It takes practice, People feel a discomfort about different gender presentations, and it's not helpful to ignore that. It is helpful to practice being cool about it, especially if that's something you want to do. Just be around trans people, be around queer people, be around non-binary people. Have friends who don't look like you, who don't act like you, who use different pronouns than you. And not just for money, not just for like, oh, you want them on your stream. Like, I play offline with people all the time of tons of different experiences and genders and expressions. And it's so beautiful. Like all these different people at the table.
Yeah, and look, it's hard because not everybody, like we were saying earlier, Magic is not exactly the most social. Weirdly, ironically enough, Magic does not lead to a lot of players who are very good at socializing or talking to other people.
Yeah.
And that is like, at the end of the day, folks got to stop worrying about who that person is sitting there and realize we're all here to just jam cards and have a good time. And like, you can be chill about it. If their pronoun is like they, them, and that's just kind of weird for you to say, that's fine. Your last name Krasowski is also weird for me to say. I don't know what to do about it.
If you're uncomfortable saying a pronoun, just use the person's name instead. That's the beauty of it. It's a replacement word. So if you don't want to use that one, just use the other one that they find respectful.
I feel weird giving people like kind of like outs, but sometimes you can also just be like, yo, I'm going to attack Joda over there.
Yeah. There are so many respectful ways to refer to somebody that don't involve misgendering them.
Yeah, right. Like, we can just do better. We can do better. It's because like the last episode that went up before this one is with Z, who is a Z main character, who is a non-binary content creator, dear friend of mine for many years. Yet. Yeah, because it hasn't come out yet.
Oh,
as of recording. As of recording, it hasn't come out yet. But Z has been a friend of mine since before they were Z, and since in a very different lifetime, in a different set of circumstances, and a different language capacity. And so in the recording of that episode, I misgendered them because I was running off of ancient information that I've got in my head. And I stopped and I was like, hang on, whoops. And let's just fix it and move on. And it's just like, hey, you know what? If you apologize and move on and don't make a big deal out of it and just correct yourself, that's fine. It's fine. Okay. We're all humans. We can all understand. We can survive.
Are you ready for second piece of advice for making your stream more accepting? Have a plan for when somebody is misgendered. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? These are things that are important to think about, Are you going to cut stream? Like, maybe that's dramatic. Maybe let's not do that.
Yeah, we don't need to make
knowledge.
You don't want to shame people.
Yes.
There was a one of my favorite podcasts is a podcast called Good Job Brain. It's a trivia game podcast, and it's been going for 10 years or so. And over the course of time, it's like it's had guests or it's had people come on and just be like, and language has changed over that course of time, and some words have become less usable and less like permissible in society. And like there was a guest who came on and was just like, oh man, and they said the R word that we don't use anymore. And one of the guests, one of the hosts was just like, oh, we just don't say that anymore. and was just like, and the guest was like, huh? It's like, we just don't use that word anymore. So, and the guest like, oh, okay, got it. And then moved on. No problem. No problem solved. No more like, verbal tics. And they left it in the show and they just smoothed over it and moved on. And I was like, that's how
really
you do
classy.
this. You're
Yeah.
just like, hey, you know what, man? If somebody's just starting stuff, you're like, hey, yo, we just don't say things like that anymore. And this is important for cis folks to do, especially because like,
yes,
it matters a lot, or even straight folks when you're talking to your gay friends, like we did in the 90s or whatever. It's like when it comes from one person of a class to another person of that same class saying, hey, we don't pick on these people anymore. And you just do chill. And you're not making a thing about it. You're just like, oh, that's just not a thing we do anymore. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then you move on.
The thing is, they're not going to listen to me say it because they don't respect me as a person.
Yet. Exactly. No, that's exactly it though, right?
They need permission to hear it,
Right. I mean, look, I got where I am because I'm a brash and loud person who does not care what you think about me, but there are a lot of people who are not quite as bullheaded. And
or who are afraid of pushback, which is dangerous in many situations.
It's dangerous in my situation a lot of the time. Yeah. But it's also like, hey, if we're chill about it, then they'll be chill about it because they'll read your emotion and they'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And if they make a thing about it, then you just know this is not the person you want to be hanging with and you move on. And that's a pretty simple, like, test right there. It's like, does the pH come back red or blue? Right? We just know.
It's really, really hard to change someone's mind by arguing with them. That almost never works. I also do, I don't know if you want to talk about this, you could cut it if you don't.
I'll talk about whatever
but
you
I
want.
also I do abortion activism. And people have a very settled mind about whether that's okay or not. Whichever way they choose, you arguing with them is not going to change their mind.
No.
But if you sit and talk with them and talk about maybe a personal story, share something that is a real world situation, and like that example of a human person in that situation and thinking about it, it feels different to people. And sometimes you can hit people's empathy there where they see a real person in a real situation being harmed. And they're like, oh yeah, I can see that. That's bad.
Right. That's exactly the issue so in my other life as a priest and as a lefty activist, I run into a lot of this in terms of people who don't like the fact that I'm a priest and a lefty activist, because those are two dialogues that do not converse in their minds. And I'm like, look, it's not about that. It's about meeting people where they are and speaking the language that they speak and being able to say like, hey, look, we're all here in this situation together. We're all reaching for comfort and strength in different ways. And also we want to support each other and, help each other thrive. And that's all this is just like one of the things I like to say at Commander Table is that we are responsible for everybody's good time, not just our own.
Yes.
And people push back on me all the time when I say that. Like, no, I'm not responsible. I'm like, no, you are. We're sitting down, and the tacit agreement we're having is that we're all going to have a good time together. And it starts from what do you put in your deck to, it's like my test is opponent, you're sitting at a table and your opponent has been talking about for a long time. They've been planning this deck and building this deck, and it's got this weird, tricky win con that takes like a multiple step solution to build out and win. And you've got the counter or the removal in your hand. And you see that they've got 3 of the 4 pieces and they're just dropping the 4th piece. And you can stop this right now and you'll win the game or you'll prolong the game or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you do it? And for me, 9 times out of 10 is going to be no. I don't. I'm just going to sit and you're never going to know that I had this card because I'm not going to tell you that I had this card because that's a different kind of dick move. But this is going to be like, hey,
it's more important to you for your friend to have fun.
Right. I want to watch you explode and celebrate and feel the joy of that the thing you wanted to do worked. I don't care if I win or lose. The fact that you had such a grand time means I won anyways, because my mood, my endorphins go up with watching you get happier. Right?
That's why you're such a great performer, Shivam. That's the attitude that you need when you are online playing Spell Table. Are you going to cast that turn 13 board wipe? Maybe you shouldn't be streaming. That's not a streamer move, Be kind to your guests. Be kind to the people you're playing with.
Be kind
think
to the
of
audience,
their emotions.
Please. Yeah, it's like, but it's just, some people just get really pissed. They're like, I wouldn't want you to, try to just like pull your punches against me. I'm like, no, you would. How would you know? Yeah. How would you ever know? You're not looking at my hand. And if you are, we have to talk about the cheating that's going on right now. Like, really, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I had to remove the whole time. I just wanted to watch it, unless we have a relationship like that already. And that's different though. That's a different talk. If it's more like, hey dude, you've been trying to build this deck for a year and a half and it finally worked, I'm going to let you let it work. Why would I do that? What do I get out of that? Yeah, I feel a little good, and your whole mood has just been yanked out from underneath you, and the whole day is ruined.
Yeah.
What did I get?
The culture of playing Arena is like Arena Standard or Arena Brawl is so different than Commander. It's cutthroat. It's removal heavy. It's
but that's why I like Arena
decks.
Because I need to get those feelings out somewhere.
I get that. I totally get that. There's a place for that, and it's when you don't have to look your opponent in the eyes afterward.
Look, you know what? I've always said that if there was my favorite way to play Magic is Chandelar, which is a single player game from the 90s, because I can just beat the hell out of the opponent because they're just computer and I don't care what they think. But
I love that. I love games where you collaborate, like horror or stuff like that.
Yeah, it is funny though, because like sometimes I'll sit down at a MagicCon at a draft, and somebody will be sitting down and they're a fan of me or they know me from Commander or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh wow, it's so great to play against you," and I'm like, "Yeah, great, you're dead." And they're like, what? But you're so mean, and I'm like, "Yeah, because we're playing limited, dude. This is not
a one-on-one environment.
Commander.
It's different."
Like our table agreement is that I'm going to walk away a winner. That's what's going to happen here.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. Draft tables need a rule 0.
They have a rule 0. The rule 0 is one of us wins. That's a rule 0. It's the same as the CDH rule 0.
I host a lot of drafts at my house, and a lot of the time we aren't really playing like that,
Yeah, but you're not playing for prizes.
Exactly.
Right? Like once you're playing in a setting where your rank matters and your prizing matters, the rule 0 has been established. One of us has to win, and the other person will have no hard feelings because that's just the game we're playing. Yeah, you can be salty at your deck, but that's fine, whatever. Like, it's different if we're playing drafts at my house and I'm just collecting all the cards later and they're just my cards and we're just playing for funsies. Who cares? Whatever. But if I'm playing at a MagicCon or if I'm playing in a tournament or an FNM or whatever, I'm playing because I want to win and you want to win, and we both agree that. And then I just have to convince you that you actually agree that I should win.
This last MagicCon, I got to play like a for fun draft after we'd finished recording and stuff like that.
Oh, I love that.
We played Mental Misplays.
His cube is so good.
Yeah. We played with the conspiracy cards, and I had never seen them before.
Oh, God, I love conspiracy cards.
Yeah, we all talked about it. We all picked one, and we all sort of built a really weird theme deck that you would never be able to do normally. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, mine did horribly. It was so bad. But it might have been the most fun Magic that I got to play at MagicCon. It wasn't even at MagicCon. It was just around MagicCon. But, big props to Mental Misplay for the extremely silly deck and for introducing me to conspiracy cards.
Yes, conspiracy is in my opinion one of the best ways to play Magic. It is one of my favorite things to do, and coincidentally was made by a designer who ended up being trans later. So it just happened. Sean Main, who has come out ever since and is now making a Magical Girl game and is living their best life.
I love it.
Yeah, I love Sean.
The conspiracy card that I drafted was the one that makes you play all of your drafted cards.
Oh God, I love that card. Dude, I spent months trying to come up with a way to integrate conspiracy into Commander, and it's trickier than you would think because I think those cards are awesome and there should be ways to play it. But that being notwithstanding, this has been a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've been having a good time.
Oh, most definitely. I'm so honored. And I'm really glad for the space to speak about these things, It's not something I really get to talk about when I get interviewed places. And it's really freeing to talk about queer joy and celebrate that.
Dude, seeing people be happy is the thing that makes me happy. And so if I can give a space in whatever capacity I've got the ability to give a space to someone that will help them share their happiness, then I win. So it's all selfish. But if folks wanted to find you, where could they go?
Yeah, if you want to see my Commander content and my old games, you can go to JanePlaysMagic.com. That takes you straight to my YouTube. And if you want to see me live, we're live every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/JaneJudge. So come hang out.
Nice. And as always, my friends, you can find me on Blue Sky at Shivam Bhatt, or you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday, thanks to my editor, Dan. You can also hear me on Shivam, A Wheeler of Love and Magic, or on the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you